After 51 years with Trident Technical College, President Dr. Mary Thornley is stepping down into retirement at the end of June. I talked one-on-one with her about her legacy at the college for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Dr. Mary Thornley, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are the celebrated president of Trident Technical College. And of course, after 50 years, you'll be retiring at the end of June. And that announcement came in September. Of course, you just had a commencement, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So tell me, as we sit here right now, Dr. Thornley, where are you emotionally?
It's interesting, Quintin. I've actually been there 51 years, been president 33. So I've done a lot of other things besides just be president. When I'm in the midst of an event, I try not to think this is the last time I'm going to do this because I don't want to be emotional. It was my last graduation, but I never said this is my last graduation because in my mind, it's not about me. It's one more time in the life of the college, and it's important to me that it be good, it be right. But it really isn't about me, and I can't think like that. When I told the board of my impending retirement, I wrote in my letter to the board how grateful I was for everything they had done, how grateful I am to have worked at Trident Tech for over half a century. And I went on to say, I'm not ready to retire. I don't know that I'll ever be ready to retire, so I'm going to retire before I'm ready. I know countless people who can tell you how many days, even hours, and certainly the number of years until they retire. I was never like that because I never thought like that. That's a gift too. I enjoyed the job, even the parts I didn't enjoy. There's so many parts that were worthwhile and important and enjoyable overshadowed everything else. And the college over the years, Quintin, has been supported by other institutions of higher education, and I work with them. It's been supported by all the chambers of commerce. It's been supported by both political parties. It has simply been supported. And I know that support is going to continue regardless of who sits in the president's office. Trident Tech is important to this community. You probably are aware, we are the one place that reflects the demographics of the people who live here. So if you really want to see what Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties look like, drive around one of the campuses of Trident Tech and just watch for a few minutes and you will see. We're very, very proud of that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the most celebrated campuses, and it's all because of you. I know you don't want to take all the credit, but it's because of you. But the time that you started at Trident Technical College as an adjunct instructor to now as president, what is the biggest difference about this particular college?
That's easy for me to answer because I moved here because I followed a husband here who was working at the College of Charleston. And I was firmly aware of what the College of Charleston was doing because he was an employee in the language department there. I also had 2 children, and I watched them grow up and go to school, and I watched their perceptions of Trident Tech. Trident Tech was not top of mind for most high school students. It simply was not. And I think one of the things I'm proudest of is over the decades, I think most sectors understand the role that Trident Tech plays, and they have an appreciation for it. That is really, really important because over 9 out of 10 of our graduates stay in the area. That means they work in this area. Not many colleges can say that. We can. So when you go to the hospital and you have a great nurse, she might be ours. When you go get your car repaired, that may be our auto technician.
That's right.
When you get your x-ray made for your knee surgery, that could be our graduate. When you get your hair done, that could be our graduate. When you get your taxes filled out by your accountant, that could be our graduate. I could go on and on and on with 300 examples of that could be our graduate affecting your day-to-day life. Tomorrow, I have an HVAC technician coming. It's possible he's our graduate because we have an HVAC program on 2 campuses, night and day. It's full. Those are great jobs. So I think the respect for the niche that Trident Tech occupies has a greater respect. And I think over the years, as we have been able to demonstrate, the so-called blue-collar worker very often begins with a higher salary than the white-collar worker. And 1 year later and 5 years later, according to Dew and their statistics, that salary is likely to be a little bit higher than the college graduate. Now, I'm not belittling the value of a 4-year degree, not in any way, shape, or form. I would never do that. Right. All education is important. But I am saying the quality and the value of the education one gets at Trident Tech, there's an ROI there that is unquestionable, absolutely unquestionable.
What is the state of education?
Tell me what you mean by that.
And I know I'm speaking in generalities, Dr. Thornley, but obviously from a technical college standpoint, what is the state of education from your perspective?
Well, I'm at a technical college, okay? And I'm certainly influenced by that. But there is a value to all education, Quintin, because we do not just work at the level of our education, we live at the level of our education. My mother dropped out of school in the 7th grade. I watched her very carefully. I watched her read the Bible, and I watched her unable to understand what a lot of that meant. I watched her go with me to a restaurant and ask me to order because I knew she couldn't read the menu. We do not just work at the level of our educations. We live at the level of our educations. If I can't figure something out, which is often, I'm able to read and figure out what that means. So it is essential that we value education, but it is also essential that we respect all kinds of jobs. Because as you go about your daily life, you want your nurse to be as strong as you want your doctor to be. And for every engineer, there are probably a dozen technicians. Those roles are truly important. And that's the mission of Trident Tech. That's what we do. We provide the workers that affect your daily life. Often, you're not even aware of it.
Right. That's right. With all of these programs and obviously services that Trident Tech provides, how many jobs have you all been able to provide to this area because of that?
I can't quantify that for you. I would have needed to have thought about that in advance and to have gathered some information. But when I tell you that we're the 3rd largest college in the state, when I tell you that 2 weeks ago we graduated over 2,000 students, when I tell you that at the nursing pinning ceremony we pinned over 150 nurses, when I give you numbers like this, you can see the impact is tremendous. It's tremendous. If we went away, that impact would be noticed in a few months.
Wow.
The workforce would notice in a few months that we weren't fulfilling that role anymore. Our role is vital. Those numbers are vital. And as I said before, our students tend to stay once they graduate. And Quintin, what's so interesting about that is not all of our students are from Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester County. Not all of our students are from the U.S. But what is interesting is, regardless of where they're from, they tend to stay here when they graduate.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, we serve a lot of military students because we are a military-friendly designated college. We go out of our way to serve our veterans.
Yes, absolutely. Thank God for them. And I know, Dr. Thornley, for over 30 years as president, you have been preparing Trident Technical College and this region for its future. How should Trident Technical College progressively and equitably increase the number of students completing in-demand credentials and training with the goal to meet or exceed 60% of the completion rate?
Well, we have to stay tuned in to what jobs are needed, and we have to be willing. Every time we have a board meeting, every time, we generally introduce a new program. And many times, we announce one that we're asking permission to close.
Yeah.
We're very responsive. We're not going to continue to offer degrees where we don't have very many students or their students don't find jobs. We're not going to do that. So we are already responsive to that. We want the student to get a credential that has value, and that value is immediate. Either they want to get a job right away, or one of our very large groups of students is students who want to transfer to a 4-year college. If you do not have a pocket full of money, you're not smart to start borrowing money your freshman year. Go to a 2-year college like Trident Tech. Get that tucked under your belt. Get your gen ed courses under the way. Get used to being a college student and grow up a little bit, and then transfer to the senior college that you want to get your baccalaureate from.
Right. And that's exactly what I did in 2008.
Good for you.
Yeah, I spent many years at Trident Tech and then came over here to the College of Charleston.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes,
it's a great pathway.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You mentioned that. Okay, what should be the college's approach to providing pathways to academic excellence by defining, aligning, and assessing clear student learning outcomes for the next couple of years?
That's a clear part of our strategic plan. I'll tell you what I'm really fond of. I really like those programs that have a board requirement at the end. Like cosmetology has a requirement at the end. Nursing, you've got to pass the NCLEX if you're going to be a nurse. A lot of our programs have a final exam, if you will, a final certification. All of those, we're well above average. We're in the top scores. So I wish, frankly, that every program we offered had one of those, and then I could refer to it and say, you see there, see those numbers? Let me stick with nursing for a moment, okay? We've had a nursing program the whole time I've been at Trident Tech. I've kept up with the data for the 33 years I've been president. For those whole 33 years, our NCLEX scores from our graduates have been above the state average, and our state average has been above the national average, and we've generally been above 4-year colleges. I want to make 2 points here.
Yes, ma'am.
Our nursing grads at 2 years take exactly the same NCLEX score that the 4-year nursing grads take everywhere else. There aren't 2 separate tests. There's one test. Even more important, we're an open door institution. So if you come knock on our door and say, I want to be in the nursing program, we're going to tell you what you have to do to get ready to be in. And then when you've done all those things, you're in. So this year, we might be full, and we'll tell you you're number 42. So when we take care of the 41 students in front of you, you know you're getting in. If you go to the medical university or USC or any other nursing program in our state, including the 2-year programs, it's not like that. They have selective admissions. Every year, if let's say you have 25 spaces, every year they're going to take the top 25. You may never be one of the top 25 because that changes every year. I don't think that's in sync with being an open door institution. So I've just told you, We have great scores.
Yes.
And I've also told you, we do not have selective admissions.
Right.
We do not.
Right.
I hope we never do. I believe in opportunity for everyone who shows they're willing to work to have that opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And Dr. Thornley, how do you actually identify, implement, and evaluate evidence-based teaching and learning practices in your classrooms, labs, and online environments?
We have an evaluation tool for all of our gen ed courses, and they permeate every program.
Right.
The deans and department heads literally visit classrooms as well, and students fill out evaluations of each class they've taken in aggregate.
Right.
In aggregate, we then have a picture of Susie Brown, a teacher of English 101. We have a picture of what Susie Brown's results are. We have also a picture of what Joe Blow's English 101 results are. We use that to improve the faculty member and to improve the instruction and to improve the institutional support. Let me give you an example. Math is difficult for most students in South Carolina. Don't ask me why. It just is. There's something in the water. We can't do math. We took our poorest performing math courses and we built in tutors to those courses because we knew that students needed help, whether they always asked for it or not. So we're paying attention. We're not just waiting till the student raises a hand and says, I'm lost or I need help. Because often, particularly male students, they won't raise a hand. They won't tell you they're lost. So you need to pay attention and know when they are and know when to intervene. That's truly important to us, truly.
Wow. And how do you then, that's a good question for the next question I want to ask you. How then do you partner with local school systems and community-based organizations to create those opportunities for people who are having trouble with math and other, subjects?
You really asked two different questions. I want to take the first part. How do we partner? How do we partner with local school districts? Because that's a different question from how do you partner with them for people who need help?
Yeah.
The big question is how do we partner with them? Okay, they got their hands full. They got a heterogeneous population. Right. None of them really have enough people or enough money. This is complicated work. Everybody thinks they're an expert in education because they went to school. No, we're not. Just because we went to school, we're not an expert any more than we can fly a plane because we've flown before.
Right.
No, it's not the same. So we partner with school districts, but we don't go in and say, we want to tell you how to do dual credit or we want to tell you how to do youth apprenticeships.
Right.
We want to partner with them and say, here's what we offer. How do you want to do it? Here are the benefits. So we may not do something exactly the same way at Oceanside Academy as we would do at Stratford High School, because Stratford High School may not want it exactly the same way, or Mount Lucy Beckham High School. We're going to work with you, the high school, because you're different. Your population's different. And we're going to assist you. We are never going to tell you what to do. Never. Any more than we would tell the Citadel, the Medical University, or the College of Charleston what to do. We are going to work with them. We do work with all three of them, and Charleston Southern as well.
Oh, yes.
As a taxpayer, you expect us to work with the education that is above us and the education that brings students to us. You expect that. We deliver that. We listen.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. You all definitely do that for sure. You mentioned something very significant there, Dr. Thornley, population. And I want to talk about that in generalities because, as you know, Charleston has been booming since from 30 years ago to right now. How does Trident Technical College keep up with that growth with smart growth?
For starters, here's what's interesting. Recently, that growth is fueled by people who are coming in with, they already have degrees.
Mm.
They're coming here with degrees in hand.
Mm.
Go to a nice restaurant and chat with the waitress, and sometimes she'll tell you she has a 4-year degree from Ohio, or she has a 4-year degree from New Mexico. They're coming here because they choose to live here. But many of them already have degrees. So, and on the other extreme end is many are coming to retire.
Mm.
So that's not a fertile ground for us to draw students from. What we do want to make sure they understand is that Trident Tech is a community college. Because if you come from Florida and you hear Trident Technical College, you think we're a vocational school.
Mm.
That's not what we are. We offer technical and college transfer programs. We are a community college. So we have a never-ending job of communication because we're not in a static place. We're one of the fastest growing places in the country. That's a great thing. With all the problems that poses, that's a great thing because I know some colleges and some presidents who are in areas that are declining. They're in Rust Belt areas. They have a different set of problems. I'll take the problems we have any day of the week over the problems they have.
What then is Trident Tech's strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities?
Easily, the ability to be nimble, the flexibility, that is our greatest strength because if a 4-year college wants to offer a program, it could take them 6 years to get it off the ground. That's just the structure. Higher ed is very traditional, very approval-based, very faculty-controlled. We're more nimble by definition because we were created to be an arm of economic development. That's clearly our strength. It was our strength in the beginning. It's our strength today. Our problem, Quintin, is we're higher ed, but we're not. Okay? The legislature loves us, but they don't fund us. There's something called tuition mitigation. Clemson gets that. USC gets it. College Charleston gets it. In the budget right now, on the House side, there's no tuition mitigation money for the technical colleges, including Trident Tech, third largest college in the state. We can't raise tuition, but there's no money to offset that. That's what tuition mitigation is. That's our biggest challenge. You can't not raise tuition 7 years in a row and not pick up the money from the state to help you fund things that you were helping cover with that tuition. That's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Wow. What do you need funding for now as far as programs and services?
Pardon?
What do you need right now as far as funding for certain programs and services?
It's not so much a certain program. We are trying to get funding for an EV Institute. That's hot. It's been on our plate for a while. We have $5 million. We need $26 million more. So that's a hot item. But we need funding. Let me give you an example, okay? Did you know that if you had to make a repair on your house and it had steel in the product needed for the repair, that price has gone up an average of 22% for the last several years? Wood products have gone up over 20% last 5 years. Many things have gone up far greater than the HEPI price of 3.7. I mean, so if you can't find a way to bring resources into your college, you struggle to pay those things. That's why the funding needs to be greater. That is exactly why.
Wow. A lot of eye-opening things right there, Dr. Thornley. But let me ask you, what resources do you have right now until you get that funding?
We have several pots of money, okay? We have several pots of money. One of them that's not considerable is the tuition pot, because we had been free for the last academic year. And the reason we decided to be free was we had a pot of money to pay for these courses, a little pot of money to pay for these. That message was very complicated, very complicated. Students couldn't understand what you were saying. You mean if I'm in this program, it's free, and if I'm in this one, it's not? So we decided to simplify the message and say, if you came last fall and spring, everything was free. Enrollment shot up, clear message. People needed the help. So we need the flexibility of greater infusion of money from the state level. That's what we need. We're financially healthy because we're not going to spend more than we bring in. We have a fund balance that's healthy because, frankly, we live on the coast. We're in Hurricane Alley. We've got to have enough money in the bank to sustain us, to have operations, to offer classes if we had another Hugo, for instance. So it's a responsibility of the administration of Trident Tech to be fiscally sound. We've done whatever that required to be that. Yes.
Absolutely. And what are the education and training needs for today's community, Dr. Thornley?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, yes, ma'am. What are the education and training needs for today's community?
We pay attention to who's coming to town, whether it's a Volvo or a Mercedes, a Boeing, or if it's a small company that needs one or two of something a year. We're in tune with the economic sectors of our community and what kinds of jobs. We pay attention to the economic outlook reports from the 3 counties and from the chambers. We are completely tuned in so that we are aligned with what we do and what we offer with what this area needs. We're completely in tune.
What does this community, this region really needs right now in your mind?
We used to be a one-horse pony that offered tourism and culinary to the outsider. We were a tourist definition.
Yes.
Okay, in the 90s, when the shipyard closed, we were terrified of what that meant, but we then realized what that did mean was we diversified the economy. And that diversified economy is the reason that we're one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. Diversification, appealing to all kinds of people with all kinds of interests, and offering job skills that lead to a livable, enjoyable wage.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. One last question for you, Dr. Thornley. Who is that certain demographic that you hope Trident Tech will appeal to in the next 5 to 10 years?
There is no certain demographic. And I say that because I'm 81 years old. I could have retired 20 years ago. I chose not to. People are changing careers all the time. They want to like what they do. They want a decent wage, but more importantly, they want to like what they do. They want to get up in the morning and smile on their way to work. So what demographic are we after? Every demographic where that person has decided, I need to get a good job. I need to take this course. I want to do this. We're affordable. We're accessible. We're all over the place. That's the demographic we're after.
Wow.
Opportunity for everyone.
Everyone. Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you want to be remembered for, Dr. Thornley?
Helping to provide opportunity for absolutely everyone. We have enough people to fill all the jobs. We do. We just have to look. We just have to look for those opportunities and make sure we're making those opportunities available to everybody. I love the fact people are moving here, but the responsibility we have at Trident Tech is to make sure that the people who already live here are getting prepared for those great opportunities. So thank you for having me on today.
Yes.
It's been a great ride. It's a pleasure knowing you.
Yes.
I wish you the very best. Thank you, Quintin.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Thornley, for your time here on Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much. Thank you.